Oh You Thought Podcast, the place where you get a heavy dose of positivity, sarcasm, knowledge, and ratchetness. Enjoy the show. Are you in the Houston area or just Texas, period? Visit the #1 Ford dealer in Texas for all your car needs. For your best car experience, ask for Mario Jones or call him at 773-991-8604. #1 in Texas. Again, his name is Mario Jones, 773-991-8604. With that, welcome to episode 46 of Oh You Thought Podcast, becoming your favorite podcast, I hope. Another week, another day. Thankful for another day to be alive. And I'll get there. I promise you I'll get there as far as what I mean about being thankful to be alive. Easter weekend for all of my religious folks. So it's a big weekend for people that believe, and y'all know who I am. I am definitely a Christian, and so there again, I don't get, mixed up in the hype of Easter to a certain degree. You know what I mean? Like how, like for the kids, with the Easter baskets and doing the candy and all that stuff. Just like Christmas, I understand the true meaning of what we are celebrating. It's not about the Easter dinner and all that stuff. So when you know that, you understand the importance of the day. And so with that, like I said, welcome. Did I tell y'all my name? I don't remember. My head is like still all over the place, but I'm here. My name is Fallon, and I'm coming to you from Houston, Texas. And if you're not subscribing to the podcast, get your life together and do that. Special shout out, like I do every week, to my SoundCloud listeners. And we're going to do the top 5 listeners from their cities, from SoundCloud. And they back. Y'all, they are back. #1. London is back at the #1 slot. I love y'all in London. I don't know who y'all are. Like I said, send me an email, follow me on Instagram, DM me or something so I can, put a name with the city for all my loyal listeners in London. #2, Santa Clara, California. #3, Warner Robins, GA. #4, Aldi, VA. #5, my people, Cape Town in South Africa. Thank you for listening. And so with that, let's just go ahead and jump right on in. Oh, you thought that you couldn't be yourself and get a man. But I'm going to tell you, boys and girls, it is possible, 100% possible, to be yourself and get a man. But Tamar Braxton, she let us know that basically she wore wigs because Vince had a liking for blonde hair and fair skin. Now let me just give you my take on not being you to get a man. And I love Tamar again, so this is really not about her, but I saw the headline, and, she recently shaved her head bald and everything to be free from wearing weaves and wigs and all that, right? So I use this topic to just go a little bit deeper into the topic of being yourself. It's so important to be yourself. If you're a female that happens to like to wear weave and wigs and braids and all that stuff because you feel like you look prettier with that, that is your right, ladies, and stay strong in that. But you should never change your outside appearance for anyone else but yourself, because if you do anything for anyone else, the motivation is not pure, It's not of you. You're being fake. And you're putting out a false narrative to the man you're trying to meet, or the man that you're currently dating. Stand in your truth, whatever that truth is. And if that truth is not good enough, then that man was not the one that was destined for you. How about that? And yes, ladies, it's cool to like switch up your hair and all this stuff to change it up and keep it, different, so your man doesn't get bored, right? But if you are changing things because he says, I'm not going to be with you, or I'm not going to be faithful if you don't look like XYZ, if you don't wear your hair like that, or if you don't wear your makeup like that, or if you don't drop those 40 pounds, I'm out. Like, be true to yourself, no matter if it's a new relationship or if you've been with that person forever and a day. Be you, because when you're around here faking and whatever, that puts something extra on you, and you start living this life and you start to look in the mirror and you're like, who is that person looking back at me? Be true to yourself, people. Be true. I can tell already this is going to be a hard recording for me to get through. I'm having one of my really bad headaches, and I'm also like watching basketball in the background because, I'm like a basketball fiend, and I'm trying to see where I'm going to end up with this bet that I have with someone. I got a bet going for college ball. I got a bet going for the NBA finals. I'm trying to get to these winnings. So yeah, I'm sorry if I'm not as focused, but I'm trying. Oh, you thought that these brands would finally get it, that they need to be more aware, more in touch with the people when they are creating these ads, so they aren't being offensive or racist. And if you don't know what I'm talking about by me, dressing it up like that, I'm talking about the fact that rapper Chance the Rapper called, why can't I say that? Heineken, there we go. You see, my brain is not working, y'all. It's not working. They say I need to sleep. That's what my brain is saying. But no, he called out Heineken beer. How about that? Use your words. Let your words use you. And of course, when people get called out, the first thing they want to do is apologize. But before I get there, so if you haven't seen the commercial, they're promoting this light beer, and the premise of the commercial is light is better. And it's so poorly done that you can't believe that they let, it go out into production. They paid their money to produce this commercial. And basically you see the light beer starting from a darker skin female, and it passes up that female, and it goes through other different shades of African Americans, and they finally get to, I believe it's a white woman. I want to say it's a white woman, if I remember correctly. And there again, they run the slogan, light is better. And it's just like, of all things you could have done to present this Heineken beer, this new light beer or whatever, you decided to use skin tones to illustrate that light beer is better. And when I saw it, I was just like, oh my God, like this is the stuff that us as people of color, we keep having to fight against. And it's tiring to have to see people be blatantly racist and then they just apologize like it's nothing. And so they put out this little blurb, and it says, we have been made aware of the concern surrounding an advert for Heineken Light that has attracted attention and can be perceived in a different manner that may be offensive for some. However, the reference to sometimes lighter is better in the Heineken Light advert solely refers to the benefits of the beer itself. The fact that it contains only 99 calories. We get it, girl. But we're talking about visuals, all right? For many years, Heineken has made ambitious ads that are reflective of different ethnicities, nationalities, genders, and show that there's more that unite us than divide us. We regret that the why do they keep saying advert instead of saying advertisement or whatever, has created ambiguity. This was never our intention, and we are taking the feedback to heart and developing future campaigns. Boys and girls, for me, as a person that was offended by watching the commercial, it's just like, that's not what we want to hear. It's like people are not taking true ownership. It's like one of those sorry, not sorries. Like, I hate the apologies that start with, I'm sorry that you feel that way. When they put it, on you, like, but they don't feel like what they said was wrong or offensive. That's what that was to me. And I just feel like, why? After everything we keep going through as a country regarding people of color, why can't we still get this stuff right in regards to how you just simply can put a commercial together, how you can do branding, or just how you treat people in general, if we're just talking outside of that, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, I was definitely annoyed. Oh, you thought that the students at Howard University wouldn't turn up over the financial aid scandal. If you've been living under a rock, or you just don't care about things, there's a scandal going on that employees stole over $1 million in financial aid. Like, why are you going to take from these kids? It's hard enough for when we get out of college, we got to pay all this money back because the way the government is set up, they want us to pay all this money for education. That's another story for another day. But I hate to say it, like, this is probably like the number one issue that we go through with HBCUs. And you always hear about financial aid scandals. You hear about some of these schools closing down because of financial aid scandals. And compared to all the other universities in this country, HBCUs represent just a dot on the map, to be frankly honest. And as a person that went to the best HBCU in the country, Southern University, it's so like disappointing to see these kiddos have to go through this. And it's unnecessary. And all that money they probably stole from these kids, someone had to go home because they couldn't get enough financial aid. And that is what makes me so mad. Or person that already has financial aid needed a little more financial aid so they could stay or get housing or whatever, books, but you taking their money. And God sees everything. I'm bringing God into this. And so the students decided that they were going to go and they were going to turn up and let their voices be heard. And their voices were heard. And they used the voice of Rihanna to go, and they started singing, bitch better have my money. And, I have this ratchet side of me. And so when I saw the video, I was like, yes, way to turn up for something important. And reality, like, yeah, y'all bitches better have our money. Because, yeah, why? There's just so many evil people in the world, crooked people in the world. People work hard to go to college. They study hard to get through college. And you going to take money that they could have had in their pockets. Could have been money allocated to scholarships or something, free money that they didn't have to pay back. But you're going to put a little stain on probably the top HBCU out of the HBCUs, Howard University. And I'm being nice because I feel like Southern University is the best. But we know. If you attend a HBCU, you know the history, you know everything. So I'm going to be fair in this right now, but I hope definitely, anyone that got turned away or anything, everything is fixed for those kids. So we won't hear about something like this again. But yeah, they turned up on everybody. Oh, you thought that in 2018 that people would stop using the words Negro or even the word nigga to nigger. Let me say it the right way, because the offensive way, nigger, to describe a color. And I'm in the healthcare industry before I tap into what I'm getting ready to say. And I do ordering. And in the prosthetic world, when you're ordering like feet and stuff like that for these patients, the prosthetic feet, they use the word Negro to describe a brown color. And it always disturbed me. And I even asked a couple of vendors, why do you still use this word to describe a color? A color is white, black, brown, red. I don't ever remember seeing a nigga brown in my coloring box. I never remember that. And so it really hurts my heart to learn that Groupon had on their website app nigger brown boots. And of course, when people do something offensive like this, they get a little slap on the wrist and they always apologize. But how about you don't do it in the first place? How about you get better people in your company that simply know better? How about that? Because then you wouldn't have to double back and apologize for being ignorant. Very ignorant. I don't see how you get to the final checkpoint of getting ready to post these new boots and nigger brown is in the information and you're just like, yeah, it's cool. Run it, Scott. It's good. It's good. Run it. How? How do you get to that point to where that's all right? Because I don't understand. If anybody that was responsible for posting that would be immediately fired. It wouldn't be like, oh, I'm sorry. Or, oh, I thought this would be okay. Like, in what world, Playboy or Playgirl, do you think it's okay to use nigger brown boots? And, we've had this problem before at Walmart. They use the word nigger to describe something too. And I'm just like, what is the problem? Like, it feels like sometimes as a person of color, we are in the twilight zone. And it's just this constant circle of us being in this twilight zone and things aren't getting better. And it's a little bit scary for me. A little bit scary. You should know better. Oh, you thought that your boy Skip Bayless had some sense. But we know he doesn't have all that sense. And he said that the Thunder are a much bigger threat to the Warriors than the Rockets are. Now, for me, the haters are going to say that they 100% agree with Skip. But if you have your God-given sense, even if you don't want to put the Rockets in that scenario, but just stick with me for a second as I try to be fair. I would say that you need to replace the Thunder with the Portland Trail Blazers. And I say you need to replace them with Portland due to the fact of the come up that Portland made towards the second half of this season and quietly. And people still aren't talking about Portland. And we'll get to the standings when I talk about sports. But no, the Thunder, they're not ready. They're a team where they have the components to possibly get there You know what I mean? But they're not going to get past the Rockets. And I just don't understand what scenario has to happen for people to be fully on board with cheering for the Rockets. Like, look at our team on paper. Look at our team real life. Look at the game last night against the Suns. Like, we are a different team this season, and everything is really like literally locking in for us. And we're just playing good basketball. Everyone is determined to get a championship. We're going to get 3. This is going to be our 3rd championship that we get this year. I'm putting it in the atmosphere like I do every day. We getting a championship. Like, it's unfortunate that people still do not take the Rockets for real. You hear people here locally, they'll talk about the Rockets, and then they'll be like, well, they're not gonna get past the Warriors. Like, they're still saying we can't get past the Warriors, but they don't watch basketball. They can't be watching basketball because we are just knocking out stats like night after night, different stats that we're just a good team. We're a great team. And when everyone's aligned together for the same goal, it makes it even better. Everybody wants a championship. Everyone believes in the team this season. So when I saw that quote from Skip Bayless, y'all know it ran me hot. And so I'm not going to stay there long. Actually, I'm done with it. And I'm going to talk more about sports when we get there. So yeah. So that's all the rants I have for this week. So let me just tell y'all about my week. So this job that I've been working at going on 4 months now, God is good, has allowed me to face one of my biggest fears, right? And so this is why the episode is called In the Clouds. And so I've had this terrifying, mind-blowing fear since forever, because I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And I'm talking about the fear of flying. I could never see myself getting on an airplane and just rolling the dice like that, because for me, I felt like you're definitely putting your life in danger when you're getting on an airplane. That's how I totally looked at it. And it's, like I said, it's been an ultimate fear of mine for a long time. I was the type where I would drive by an airport or see a plane in the sky, because I live pretty close to an airport pretty much all my life. And I get nervous. And it's crazy. So I had the opportunity to fly to Las Vegas for a convention, the MedTrade convention, where you take classes and look at all the vendors and everything they have for the DME world. And so flew out there on Tuesday. I did really, really good flying there. I can't describe the feeling of what it feels like of when you take off. I always expected it to feel worse than what it felt taking off, but it just feels like a constant like climb, like your body is just like literally elevating. And for me, since it was my first time flying, like my ears didn't pop or anything like that, but I just felt like a constant weakness, and that was probably me being nervous as well. But flight to Vegas there was fine. We had some turbulence coming into Vegas, and it wasn't as bad as what they made it seem. It just felt like, you were hitting bumps on a road if you were driving. That's how that turbulence felt, but stay with it. So stayed at the Mandalay Bay Hotel, beautiful hotel. It's like a major mall. That's what it felt like. Like the hotel is big, and then you got the casino, and then you have all these shops and stuff, and it just constantly moving all the time, right? And so definitely enjoyed my stay there. Probably will go back if I get the nerves. But yeah, so convention was cool. Learned a lot of stuff. Had fun. Coming back to Houston on Wednesday night. Now, first time flyer, of course, I'm hella nervous having to fly at night, flying over the canyon and these mountains and all this stuff. And, I'm peeking out as we're flying. Definitely when I came in, it was very beautiful as I peeked out of the window. But going back, weather was really bad in Texas. So as soon as we got into El Paso, it was on and popping. And I was terrified. I thought that we were going to die. And this was not me being like regular scared, being a first time flyer. Like, that's what I felt in my spirit, because the turbulence was so bad. And they just kept coming over the speaker, ensuring us to keep our seatbelts on. And the pilot is trying to find good air. And so one thing that helps, save my nerves a little bit, especially flying to Vegas, is when you fly Southwest. I don't know if other airlines do this. You can see like the flight plan, basically. You can see where the plane is. And so I'm watching the flight and I'm just like, why are we going north instead of going down to Houston? I'm like, what's going on? They had to go that far north to find some good air. And so we're getting so close to Houston. Turbulence is horrible. And I'm freaking out. And the man next to me asks me if I'm okay. And at first I said, I'm okay. And so it gets even worse. And I'm like, I'm not okay. And then he explains to me that he used to fly planes. He's an ex-pilot. He said, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And he started talking me through the logistics of what was going on. And it still didn't make me feel better, but he was just trying to just talk to me to keep me calm. And so we had turbulence. Probably it felt like 20 to 30 minutes worth of turbulence. And they tried to come back down to land in Houston. They told us we couldn't land, so they diverted us to New Orleans. And we land in New Orleans, and even when we're going through Louisiana, still have more turbulence, but we get like 15 minutes away and then it calms down. We land in New Orleans. It's about 2-3 in the morning, and we're waiting to see if they're going to let us go back to Houston and land. And they say the flight is canceled. Deuces. And so next day, come back to the airport, try to get a flight. I'm thinking, I'm going to get on this 2:15 that has to go to Dallas, then Houston. And it's raining, of course, in Louisiana, because, if you live in Texas, the trend. If it comes to you, it's going to go to the east for the most part, unless it goes out into the Gulf of Mexico. So we knew it was coming to Louisiana. So the rain comes and my flight is delayed. And it's been delayed so much that I'm going to miss my connecting flight. So I had to wait for the later flight out of New Orleans directly to Houston. Did that, much better flight, a little bit of turbulence, but nothing like I experienced the night before. So for me to be a first time flyer, that was like the worst experience of my life. And I definitely was calling on Jesus out loud and definitely afraid. Got a free flight out of it. And so I don't know where I'm going to go with the free flight, but I'm going to use it. And it's just good to be able to live. You know what I mean? I'm always talking about on this podcast how I want to live. And flying has been something that has held me back for a long time. It has definitely like crippled me as far as like being able to come and go and do fun things and having to say no to people because I'm afraid to fly. And to know that, number one, it's not as bad as what I thought it was going to be. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's not. But it's still like, I still can't get out of my head that we're up so high in the air and something so big is staying steady in the air and keeping us alive. Like the science behind it, I just can't wrap my head around. It's just like being on a cruise ship. Like this big, massive cruise ship is staying steady on this body of water. Like I can't wrap my head around the science in that. And I'm a smart chick. And, but I am just so thankful to be safe and alive. Thankful for the pilots that were able to guide us into New Orleans safely. And yeah, so that was my experience, y'all. I made it. A positive mind equals a positive life. When you let go of all the negativity, that is the ultimate glow up. It's time for the positivity moment of the show. Positivity moment of the show. I have a few things I want to go through in this segment of the show, and I haven't brought up anything from Sprinkle of Jesus in a while, and so I wanted to bring up a little quote that they posted earlier in the week, and it just simply says, give more energy towards your worship than into worry. And that goes into I can't remember the Bible verse where you can do one thing. You can either pray or worry, but you can't do both. And I'm loosely paraphrasing the verse. And if you're just so busy on worshiping God and just being thankful for the breakthrough, for whatever you're going through, you're not going to have enough time to worry. And, going back to my experience with flying, like that's basically where I was the whole flight. I had my music in, listening to podcasts or either music, and the whole time I was praying. And then at even one point going there, I was like, God, just please calm the wind that they're saying that we're getting ready to experience. And I feel like he did that. I feel like he heard my prayer, answered my prayers, and definitely did that going there to Las Vegas. Another post that I thought was good to share comes from World Star, and it says 90% of your stress will disappear if you just mind your business. And this is so important. I talk about this a lot on the podcast. Minding your business is so easy. Like if you're working towards your goals, if you just worrying about being happy and not worrying about the next man or the next female who's doing this and who's doing that, you would be so much happier. And you wouldn't have to worry about trying to keep up with the Joneses when you're trying to keep up with yourself. Like it's so much stuff that people can tap into instead of just tapping into not minding your business. And I'm the type of person, I don't like to gossip. And I hate when I get tied into conversations that lead to gossiping. I don't like to do that because I feel like I don't like people talking about me. So I don't want to talk about people behind their backs and stuff like that. So just mind your business, people. We getting ready to go into April. Like you got enough time this year to learn how to mind your business. It's not hard. So a couple episodes back, I said that I wanted to talk about this depression and anxiety chart that I had because I feel like it's so important. And then I feel like it connects to what I went through this week dealing with a lot of anxiety about riding on this plane, y'all. And so if you've been listening to the podcast since the beginning, you know that also I deal with depression. And depression is another serious topic that a lot of people really still think is not an issue. And I beg to differ because we see all of these people that are suffering from mental health issues that go around the world killing people. Depression is something that is real for me because my feelings are valid, right? And that's something I always say. Your feelings are valid. And it felt so empowering to me to be able to have the conversation with my mom a couple of years ago about my depression. And so that led me to be open when I started doing my test episodes for the podcast. And when I started doing my live episodes for the podcast, I was open and honest about my depression and what my depression looked like for me. And so the past couple of weeks, or maybe even further than that, like when I had my uncle die and my auntie die, I felt myself going into a depression slump and also like stress from the job And I've been so good to maintain my depression. I don't take medication for it, but sometimes medication is needed. And that's another thing that we need to learn to support and just mind your business. If someone's on medication for depression, they need it, okay? And so I can always feel when I'm getting ready to go into these little depressed modes. And for me, it's not typically like a day. Mine typically comes in waves of like 1 to 2 weeks at a time. And I got over that little part, and then it started to uprise again this week. And I get the connection for this week. My anxiety has been on like 1,000, and my depression has been pulling in, just still thinking about stuff that I'm still struggling with in my personal life, and goals that are not being met, and things that you want to do as far as like just to be able to just, I don't know how to explain it, but typically when I get in my dark places, the trigger for me that I can physically see my depression is getting ready to kick up is when I start crying. And it's not about anything in particular. I could just be laying or sitting and I just start crying. And it's not like a boo hoo hoo, but I have tears coming down my face, and it's something I can't control. And so I get mad at myself sometimes when I get in that position, because I feel like, Fallon, you should know better. And so when you start doing the negative self-talk, it makes it even worse. And I sent a text to one of my friends, and I was like, it's a shame where you talk so bad to yourself. And I'm always talking about positivity and loving on yourself. And it's just like, it shows you that I'm not perfect. Yeah, I'm out here trying to live this positive life, but depression, again, is real. And I've talked about it before. There has been studies done that show a connection between patients that have diabetes and they suffer from depression. And it's true for me and for my sister. And sometimes it's hard to explain depression, because it's a feeling of you want to choose to be happy. Like, you'll do things that you think will make you happy, but something in your brain, your heart, is just making you still feel sad. It's like this cloud is over your brain, and it's kind of just like circling around, if you want to put a visual to it. Kind of like a weather system that's moving through the area. And whenever it's done messing with you, it just moves on down the line. That's how it is for me. So once those clouds just kind of move out of my brain, I'm back to being happy Fallon. And for me, another bad thing is a lot of people can't tell when I'm going through my depression, because sometimes I won't tell people. The only person I'll really tell is like my best friend, but I didn't even tell him this time that I was going through a depressed period. I'm still in a depressed period. And typically I'll be like, I'm not feeling good. I'm going through one of my little depression moments. And typically he'll understand, and he's the type of person, like, he just wants me to be happy. Like, he's a really great friend and just always wants the best for me. And so this is how we get to this diagram. And so I'm sure you can find it if you just Google like depression and anxiety model. If I remember, I'll tag it when I post the podcast information. And so it gives you this diagram where you have anxiety living in this circle to the right, and then you have depression living in this circle in the left, and it's in red. And you have this middle ground. And this is like, for me, this is where depression and anxiety comes together. And so I'll start there. And typically, and this is what they have on the chart, You're not able to rest. Excessive worrying. And that's what I did preparing for this flight. I just kept telling my best friend, I'm so scared. I'm so scared. Talking to my mom, I'm so scared. I'm so scared. Talking to my sisters, I'm so scared. I'm so scared. And it's just so excessive. And for a person like me who has OCD, and then that's another disorder a lot of people, I feel like they don't understand. They think when you say OCD, it's just one lane as far as like OCD with like germs, right? A lot of people would be like, oh, I have OCD because of germs, or I have OCD because I want everything to look perfect. But OCD really surrounds around the idea of being repetitive in your day-to-day processes, right? I definitely have OCD when it comes to germs and stuff like that. And I have OCD when things aren't perfect and I want them to be perfect, right? And then I have OCD with routines. And if you know me, I'm a person that I like to plan. I like to schedule things. And that's where I'm at with it, right? And so, yeah, so if something goes wrong in a routine, either I do it over, and that's where the OCD comes in, or I get aggravated, okay? So that's where that comes in. And that's the piece that a lot of people don't understand. And so in the anxiety circle, I definitely experienced this flying. You have trembling, increased breathing rate, feeling nervous or powerless. I feel like this a lot sometimes. Having a sense of impeding danger or panic, even when nothing is going on. High heart rate and sweating. On the depression circle, you have sadness, irritability, loss of interest in normal activities, thoughts of suicide or death. And I've never had that ever. Very tired, and this is me all the time. So maybe my depression is worse than what I think it is, because I'm constantly tired. And then disturbance in sleep or appetite. And then for me, it's in the reverse. Ain't no disturbance in my eating habits. I think for me, like, I get so disappointed that I'm not able to work out every single day. I get disappointed because this insulin keeps putting weight on me, because it's just sitting there and it's not converting and it's not moving out my body. So I get mad about that. So I eat. I take more insulin. I make sure I take enough insulin to cover what I'm putting in my mouth. And so you guessed it, you gain more weight. And so, yeah, but depression and anxiety is such a real thing that we have to be afraid, not be afraid to talk about it. We have to be able to find great solutions for the people that are coping with depression. And we have to stop making fun of people that have depression and saying that it's a non-factor, basically, that it's all in your mind, a choice to be happy. And there again, if you could just jump into the brain of a person that suffers from depression, you would change your mind. What's popping, y'all? So I don't have that much that I want to talk about, but I have some important things that I want to talk about, and hopefully I can get this all in within 20 minutes. If not, I'm not going to talk about sports because I'm at 40 minutes right now, so we're going to see what happens. So I would rather talk about these important issues that concern my people than basketball, because we know what's going on with basketball. So I'm going to start off with Alton Sterling, the young man that was murdered in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The police aka the murderer, was fired but will not be charged with murder. His partner is currently still suspended, and even after the body camera footage was released, it shows that the cop threatened and insulted Alton. My thing is this: if you have all this evidence that the police, aka the murderer, was aggressive towards Alton, which people keep forgetting, or not my people, but other people keep forgetting, that the store owner had no issue with him standing outside selling his CDs. He did it all the time, but people want to deny that fact, but stay with it. And so there again, you have a situation where the cops are being overly aggressive in a situation where it don't take all of that. It never takes all of that in that scenario, especially where you have people running around shooting up schools, sending bombs to innocent people, and you don't treat them like that. They get a chance to take themselves out before you take them out, and not at the not the recent Florida shooting, but in regards to the bomber in in Austin, took himself out. Coward. But this man does not get justice. This man does not get a chance to speak up for himself. This man does not get to go home to his family anymore. This man is laying 6 feet underground because this murderer, went to work with a chip on his shoulder, or went to work thinking he's, above the law because he's a cop. And so ain't nobody gonna mess with him. He feared for his life. So he murdered Alton Sterling. Issue with that. I talked about Stephon Clark last week, and I have a follow-up to that. And I want to share a post from Sophia Bush, which, if you don't know who she is, she played on One Tree Hill. And I follow her on Instagram because I see she is about that life. She is socially aware of what's going on with everybody, not just her people, right? And so she posted this, and I'll skim through this and hit the hot points. She goes on to talk about the autopsy of Mr. Clark. And she says he was shot in the back and neck 8 times. There again, it don't take all that. He didn't have a gun, right? He was shot at least 20 times. Doesn't take all that, y'all. 8 bullets hit him in the back and neck. 8. Each doing enough damage to his flesh and bones and nerves and arteries to end his life. The autopsy estimates that he lived for 3 to 10 minutes after that, but he was not given any medical treatment. But the officers who shot him for 5 minutes after the last shot was fired. He was handcuffed before they began treating his wounds. He died in handcuffs. The police were looking for someone else. A helicopter above saw a man in a yard. There are lots of families in lots of yards across our country. But the police went into this yard and shot this man who they were not looking for, who simply had his cell phone in his hand. They claimed they mistook a phone for a gun. A cell phone in a man's hand for a gun with a barrel that would have protruded from a hand. They justified firing 20 bullets at him because of the fear. Here we go. It's always the fear that the potential of a gun caused. But they shot him in the back. So the phone that wasn't a gun certainly wasn't pointing at any of them. I don't care if you know wonderful police officers, so do I. Men and women who I love and deeply believe in, I don't care if you think this is too hot of an issue, too political, too tense. I care that a young father of 2 was massacred in his grandma's backyard because a group of men with guns entered his property, did not identify themselves as law enforcement. As evidenced by the tape, and a shot man in the back claiming they were in fear for their lives. No matter where you stand, who you love, or how angry you are, it's impossible to ignore that we have a major societal problem when a young black father minding his own business with a cell phone in his hand is executed, and a white mass murderer with an AR-15 is calmly... Sorry, I have to find my spot again because of the way I took the screenshot. Is calmly handcuffed and then called the victim of bullying. That's bullshit, y'all. We have a problem. I don't claim to have the answer when asked how we should fix it, but we must do the work. This too is gun violence. Say his name. Black Lives Matter. March for our lives. And when I saw this, I was just like, it's good to see people that don't look like me, that 100% get it. They're not just doing it to get noticed on social media. Like, they don't care about their sponsors or what they got going on. They are doing it because it's what's right. We're talking about someone's life, and his life mattered. Alton Sterling's life mattered, and countless other brothers, their lives matter. And this is why we have the Black Lives Matter movement for things like this. And on the heels of the Stephon Clark shooting, the White House, they're calling police shootings of black men a local matter. No. This is bigger than a local matter, because nothing's being done on the local level, and it's the president's job to do something to fix this. And it just breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart that I feel like I could possibly talk about these issues every single episode that I put out, and that's crazy to me. On the positive side of things, last weekend I watched the Roxanne movie about the rapper Roxanne. It's on Netflix. It's such a good movie. Like, I literally wanted to watch it again after I just watched it, because the movie was so well done and so well written. And it just, if you're a hip hop head, this is something like, you need to know your history. Like, we talk about all the young rappers out here rapping, doing what they do, but just pay homage or learn the history of the people that came before you. It was amazing to see her story, how she started battle rapping at a young age for money. And it was just a good story, and certain things you could just see were going to happen. And I was totally surprised about some of the storylines you saw in the movie. You saw how Biz Markie got started doing what he was doing, and then you see how Lil Nas got started, and I wasn't expecting that. And so he was struggling to rap, and she basically told him, the next time I see you, you better have your rap together or I'm gonna kick your ass, and I mean it. And the next time he saw her, he had his rap ready. And it's just amazing to just see, because you know how Nas, he paints pictures, and to see this little boy spitting, and I'm hoping it's like the original rap that Nas did when he was a little boy, on the same type of shit. Like, just, it blew my mind. Like, and that's why I love Nas. He's my, he's in the top 3 as far as my favorite rappers. And to see that, I was just like, cool. Like, I would love to see like it go from like that point with Nas, and take us to now. I would love to see the story behind Nas, because I can imagine it would be a really good story. And so the last thing I want to talk about and what's popping, Black Panther is officially the U.S.'s top grossing superhero movie of all time. Not just this year, all time. And that's another movie I could watch over and over. It was so well done. Imagery was just beautiful. So yeah. So it looks like we have enough time to talk about sports. And so I just want to talk about a few topics in the sports world. And I want to start with staying on the same lines of talking about Stephon Clark. Some players from the Kings and the Celtics, they wore warm-up shirts honoring Stephon Clark. On the front of the shirts, it said accountability, we are one. And then on the back, it had his name. And so that statement alone is very, very powerful, because we're not holding these people accountable. We're letting them just be fired or be suspended with pay, suspended without pay, extended vacations, and no one's being held accountable. Like for me, if you're one of these cops out here, how do you sleep at night? And I'll just leave it at that. Let me just keep going in a positive direction. Basketball Hall of Fame. We got some new people being entered into the Hall of Fame. One of my favorites. 3 of these people are like my ultimate favorites behind Allen Iverson. Steve Nash. I've always been a fan of the way he plays basketball. Grant Hill was one of my favorites early on. I had his poster hanging up on my wall. Jason Kidd was another main reason why I started liking the Dallas Mavericks. And so, they're being inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. So congratulations. My Rockets, I always got to talk about my Rockets. We have the most wins in franchise history. And so if you look at the data, it supports it pretty much. Like if you got a team that's doing something like this, they typically win a championship. And that's the wave we're riding on. I thought we were going to lose to the Phoenix Suns last night. And I was just like, oh my God. And we get to the last few seconds of the game, and Houston's own Gerald Green, he hit the game-winning shot, like just so clutch. And that's what we need going into the playoffs. We just need to be running on all cylinders and just need to be locked in. I keep saying that because that's the theme for my Rockets, is being locked in. And so can't leave my other guy out, Clint Capella. He's the first person in NBA history to record 11 points, 16 rebounds, 6 blocks, 3 steals in 38 minutes or less. He did that. And so let's just go ahead and quickly look at the NBA standings so that way I can go and watch my college basketball if I can get there. This phone is just not acting right. But yeah, the standings. I'm really excited about where my team is going, to be honest. And I've been excited the whole time. And so Rockets are number 1. And they have 7 games over the Warriors. Warriors number 2. The team I told y'all really need to be concerned about. Portland's number 3. Spurs number 4. Timberwolves number 5. Thunder number 6. Jazz 7. And the Pelicans they fall into the 8th spot. In the East, I don't think the Celtics will be able to come up and get that number 1 slot. Raptors number 1, Boston number 2, Cavs 3rd, Philly number 4, Pacers number 5. Why is Siri trying to talk to me?
I found some information.
No, Siri, I didn't ask you anything. When your phone goes nutso. Pacers number 5, Wizards number 6, Miami number 7, Bucks number 8. And so we started the playoffs. if we started the playoffs today, we would be playing the Pelicans. Warriors be playing the Jazz. So that's kind of interesting. And then, like I said, I'm watching college basketball. And so at this point, my bracket, let's see. I have one bracket that's currently at 94%. And this is not the one I have entered with the guy I have a bet with. But it doesn't matter who wins this game for me because I had Arizona going to the final, to the championship. But I just need for Kansas to go ahead and beat Villanova tonight. And then I'll get that W for picking Kansas. And then I need Kansas just to win it all. And then I'll win my bet anyway with the guy or whatever. So hopefully that will happen. But y'all, that's all I have. Running right in an hour. It's like right when I get to that hour point, my voice starts to go out. But yeah, thank you for listening this week. Follow me on social media. Follow me on Twitter, Pretty and Smart 81. Pretty, the letter N, Smart 81. Follow me on Instagram, OhYouThoughtFallon, FALLON. Email me at OhYouThoughtFallon@gmail.com. Go to my website, OhYouThoughtFallon.com. And yeah, like if you want me to give any advice or you just want to make comments about the podcast or whatever you want to send me an email that you want me to read on air, just let me know. Remember, if you're looking for a vehicle in the Houston area or Texas, hit up Mario Jones. I'll have the information also in the notes of the podcast, so you have it there in black and white, so you can give him a call so he can work out a deal for you. And that's my time, y'all, and I hope y'all have a great Easter weekend, and I'll holla at y'all next week. Until next time, remember to glow up, bless up, stay prayed up, and hold it down.
Hold it down. Hold it down.